Begin the current Daf Masech the Shabbos Daf Pei Vav. Begin 4 lines down at the top of the Amud, where we continue with the next Mishnah in the series of these Mishnayos in Parakam Rabbi Kiva, where we discuss a Minayin, where we know a source that's alluded to in the Pasuk. Asher is corresponding to Bekazach in Cheskel, Torah Anytime, Daf Achaim, Zoom Ayel, everyone that's joining us. Some of these we're going to be discussing today's Daf, like we said, is this next Mishnah, continuing the pattern of the Minayins, where do we know halacha from? And our Mishnah will discuss 4 different halachas. First of all, the Mishnah is going to discuss, which is the primary discussion of this daf, a woman who emits zera, semen, up to 3 days after engaging in marital relations, then there's going to have a halacha of tumah. Now, after 3 days, the zera is no longer viable, and therefore it's not going to be mitame anymore. It only has viability where the Torah says shichva zera semen has tumah. That's only for a period of 3 days. After the 3 days, there's not going to be mitame anymore. Additionally, Minayin, where do we know that an infant may be bathed in warm water up to 3 days after his circumcision on Shabbos, which generally is problematic, but because of the weakness of the child that's permitted, the Mishnah is going to bring a source for that. Additionally, Minayin, where do we know that they tied a red strip of wool to the head of the goat that was sent to the Azazel on Yom Kippur? And finally, Minayin, where do we know that anointing oneself with oil is like drinking on Yom Kippur, which is forbidden, and therefore so too is the anointing of oil also forbidden to be done on Yom Kippur. The Gemara is going to cite 3 opinions. How long actually, our Mishnah says one opinion, how long is the zera viable and will make her tamei because of the zera? And the source of this halacha from the Pesukim about the timeline of Kabbalas HaTayr. So the Gemara will discuss the machlekes finally at the end of the daf between the Rabban and Rabbi Yisi about the order of the events at Har Sinai, what happened starting from Mishrei Shivan going to the day of Kabbalas HaTayr. So begin the current daf. We're 4 lines down at the top of the Yomit. We begin again the next of this series of Minayin. Says the Mishnah Minayin, where do we know Lepiletes Shechva Zera, a woman who emits the semen? B'yom Hashlishi, on day 3, Yishtehei Tameyam, that she's going to be Tamei on day 3. And that is because on day 3, the semen has not yet putrefied. It's still fit to conceive a child, and therefore it's still called in the Torah Shechva Zera. It's the laying of the seed because it's fit to be mazri, it's fit to create a child. So up until day 3, it's still going to have the tumah of zera. So if she emits that semen, it gives her a tumah as what equivalent of a man is a balkari. That'll be the equivalency of a woman emitting that seed. How do we know that if it's within 3 days of when she had marital relations, that's still going to be tamei? Shemak, it says the pasuk in Shemais. It says regarding Kabbalas HaTayr, it says Hashem says to the Jewish people, you should be ready for a period of 3 days, which we see that the Torah is particular about, even though it's before Kabbalas HaTayr, as Taisa says, there really is no tumah, but the Torah is particular about a tumah of keri, which related to a seminal emission regarding Matan Torah. As Taisa says, the reason is because the Balkari does not have awe and fear, because it comes because of frivolity and lightheadedness. So therefore, the Torah is particular about that tumah specifically, in contrast to all other tumahs not found by Matan Torah. Now, the Tanna of Mishnah holds that the 3 days is with the day of the separation itself, which is, as we'll see in the Gemara, exactly opinions regarding this, but that on Wednesday they separated from their wives, and they were makabel the Torah, as we'll see, everyone agrees on Shabbos, which was day 4 from the day that they had marital relations on Wednesday before they had separated. So then they go ahead and they go to the mikvah on Friday night, and then we're not concerned if they're going to go ahead and emit on Shabbos, because by day 4, which is Shabbos, it already putrefied, and then it's not going to be shit mazer that's fit to conceive a child. Now, let's say in contrast, however, let's say the seed was emitted on Erev Shabbos, on day 3, then there would be tamei, and that's why they were separated from their wives. You should prepare yourself a period of 3 days before, which was on day 4 from when they separated. It was 3 days of separation. Then the Torah was given on Shabbos. That is already after the seed is viable. That's where we see this halacha that on day 3, which is including the day that they had relations, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would still be day 3 from that, and would still be mitame. On day 4, a period of a preparation of 3 days that they were not with their wives, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depends how you say it, that and on Shabbos was already past that, then that's going to be that it wasn't, even if a woman would emit the seed, it wouldn't be a problem. That would not make her the tumah of keri, and the Torah was particular that they shouldn't have. That you see from this pasuk, that on day 3, it's still giving a tumah. Next halacha was Minayin, for what do we know? She'marchitzin es hamila b'yom shlishi shechalis b'Shabbos, that we could bathe a child that was circumcised on day 3 that falls on Shabbos. And the reason for that is because even on day 3, the child's a mesukkan, he's in danger for his life. Where do we know that he's very weak at that point that you could bathe him? Somebody says the pasuk in Bereshit. It says regarding the people of Shem, who Shimon and Levi were going to kill them, it says because they made them circumcised. On day 3, they used some kaivim when they were in pain, and then they went and they killed them out. So we see that at day 3 that a person's at their weakest, and therefore one is allowed to bathe the child on Shabbos if it's day 3. Next halacha is, from where do we know that they would tie on a thread of red wool on the head of the higot that was sent away. There was 2 seirim, one was slaughtered and brought into the Kodesh HaKadosh in the blood, and the one was thrown off the cliff, which was called the Sar Mishtaleach, the Sar La'azaz. Where do we know that they would tie a red strip, which actually the Yomim explains half was on the horns and half was on the stone? Shem says the pasuk in Yeshaya. It says in Yichat To'echem Kashan, if your sins are going to be red like crimson, Kashelik Galbinu, it's going to become white like snow. And again, that white as snow indicates that Hashem forgave the sins, which are always alluded to in the color of red. And finally, the last halacha, what do we know regarding anointing? Shikashki, that's like drinking B'yom Kippurim and Yom Kippur, you're not drinking Yom Kippurim, that you're not allowed to anoint too. So it says the Mishnah, although there's no proof for this, but there's at least a recollection for this idea. Shammai says the pasuk in Tehillim. It says Vatavei Chamayim B'Kirbay. That's going to come like water in his innards, and oil in his bones. We're comparing anointing of oil to drinking of water, which Taisa says, why is that not considered Raya Gemura like the other allusions? It's because really the pasuk is not talking about drinking; it's talking about bathing with water. That's really what the comparison of water to oil is. Just like oil's on the outside, so the water's on the outside, but it's still alluding to the fact, just like water is generally, you drink it and it's on the inside, so too is going to be the oil, the anointing is going to have the same halacha in Yom Kippurim, that it's going to be forbidden. Now, the Gemara goes to the first halacha of our Mishnah regarding the halacha of Pelet Shech Vazer. It says the Gemara the following question. Reisha, the beginning of the Mishnah, is the Like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, because according to him, as we're going to shortly quote a brisa, that he holds if a woman emits the seed on day 3 from when she had relations, actually tar, and it's not viable for day 3. It's only up until 2 days. Now the problem is, but Seifa, the next halacha of the Mishnah regarding Machitzin Nasamila, that halacha is Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, because he's the one who says it later on, what we call Rabbi Elazar Demila. He's the one that is the proponent of that opinion that says that you could bathe the child on day 3. Now, the problem is, as we're saying, that the contradiction is because the Ikar Elazar ben Azariah. So if you would think that Reish like Elazar ben Azariah, but Tahir Shamanle, we know that he says on day 3 he's actually going to be tar, so we have a contradiction. On the one hand, the Reish sounds like Dalik Elazar ben Azariah, and then the next halacha sounds like it is Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So that the Gemara has 2 different approaches. Mandalay Muki Kitanai, according to in general, the opinion that holds that we don't want to say that one Mishnah is 2 different Tanaim, because it's a teichik, it's pushing it to say that. So generally that opinion would hold that you'll give it as 2 different cases, or you'll say that there's an error in the Mishnah, and you'll explain why it's not going to be like 2 different Tanaim. And they'll say rather there's some type of error in the Mishnah. According to that opinion, so Tana Reish Tayr, that opinion would say, obviously the Mishnah is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. You see from the second case in the Mishnah regarding Machitzin as a Yelad, as a Mila, B'yem Shlishi. So when you do the first case that says that on day 3 you're going to be Tam, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah holds going to be Tar. You're right, he meant it. He says there's a grais, there's a mistake in the Mishnah. Instead of saying the word, how do you know that on day 3 it's going to be Tameya, it really should say, how do you know on day 3 that it's going to be Tahira? And he explains the whole Mishnah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who else will shortly quote, that he holds a different interpretation of B'yom Shlishi, and therefore, actually, on day 3, when the woman emits the seed, it's actually going to be tar, it's only going to be tamei for 2 days. But says the Gemara, but the opinion that always generally prefers to say something that instead of saying that a mistake or explaining that the Mishnah is 2 different types of cases, as Rashi brings this is a machlekes, bird and bum and tzidach and malcham and av, he'd rather say that, okay, let's keep it clean. There's no mistake in the Mishnah, don't do it again. It's 2 different tanaim. Oh, according to that opinion, so Reish Rabbanan, Masivik, Rabbi Elazar ben according to that opinion, you're going to have to say that the Reish is like the Rabbanan, and then the Sefer is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and therefore it is like 2 different tanaim, and the halach of the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, which this reference is, as the Gemara quotes Trabah in the Brisa, which refers to this disagreement that we have. This is the exact case that we're discussing. If a woman emits the seed on day 3, which is a woman absorbs the semen, and on day 3, she emits the seed. So what's the halacha? So the first opinion says Torah, and this is the opinion we had brought. The Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg. The opinion of Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg is she has marital relations. So there's day 1, day 2. So only for 2 days if she emits the seed is going to have viability and to be considered tummy. On day 3, and for sure day 4, but already on day 3, it's going to be tar. That's why we said that the halacha, the Mishnah, the ratio was not like him. That's Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg. Shmuel Omer, he says. So in other words, for Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, when he says b'yom hashlishi, Rashi gives an example. He says, for example, if let's say she has relations on Thursday, and then she emits the seed on Shabbos. So according to Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, she's going to be tahir. Now, and Rashi explains this is important for the other opinions, and for this opinion too. It doesn't make a difference according to Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg if she had relations in the beginning of Thursday night, which is a delay of 4 einis. An eina is a 12-hour period, whether of daytime or nighttime. So, according to Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, the primary characteristic is how many days there are. So, let's say she had relations in the beginning of Thursday. So, let's say we're saying Thursday is day 1, Friday is day 2, and Shabbos is day 3. So, he says day 3 she's going to be tar. Now, on Thursday, which was day 1, when did she have married relations? So Rashi is explaining it doesn't make a difference if it was in the beginning of Thursday. So you really have the whole Thursday night. You have Thursday day. You have you have, in other words, you have Leil Hay is considered the beginning of Thursday is really what we call Wednesday night, Thursday day, Thursday night, which is Leil Vav, because in Jewish law the halacha starts at the nighttime from before, and then you have Friday day. So you have 4 periods of einis, which that's the viability of the tumah. Or it doesn't make a difference if, let's say, she had relations Thursday, like right before Shkir, where really all you have left is really Thursday night and Friday day, which only can be 2 einis. Doesn't make a difference. It can be 2 einis, 4 einis, where again you're just a minute off a minute here, but it doesn't make a difference. For 2 days is viability, and that's it. Day 3, once it comes Shabbos, if she emits seed, it's not going to have a tumah because it depends on the days. That's the opinion of Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg. Shmuel, he comes to disagree, and he says, like the opinion of our Mishnah, he says that when she emits day 3 from when she had relations, it's still going to be tumah. Not like Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, he says only for 2 days. He says that tumah is going to be even on the 3rd day, but when she emits seed on the 4th day, then it's going to be tar. Now, what he does agree, however, to Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg is that you don't care how many hours are left in the day. He holds like, miktzah sayim kekulai, the Torah is only a particular amount of days and not the amount of oynes, not the amount of time periods. The reason why we point this out is because the third opinion will be dependent on that. So he says like this. He says, Pa'amim shehein dalar oynes. At times, you're going to have 4 complete 12-hour periods, where if, let's say, she had relations on Wednesday, that was almost Wednesday night, right before Wednesday was turning into Thursday by Wednesday night. So her emissions are going to be tummy until the beginning of Shabbos. Now, pa'amim shein heyonis. Sometimes it's going to be 5 time periods. How so? Let's say she had relations in the beginning of the day of Wednesday. And pa'amim shein vav. Sometimes it's going to be 6 time periods. Where let's say she had relations in the beginning of the night of Wednesday, which is really Tuesday night, but right after Bein Hashmashas. So you're going to have 6 time periods. Why are you going to have 6 time periods? Because you'll have Wednesday night, Thursday day, Thursday night, Friday morning, and Friday night. And you're going to have the 6 einis in the beginning of the nighttime of Wednesday. You'll have, let's get this again, that he's saying that you're going to have 6 time periods. Is if you have the days go according to the amount of, see if we have this on the slide to explain this out a little bit better. But he says that it depends on the day. So the machlekes between Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg and Bishmal is regarding the day. So it doesn't make a difference how many einis, like we said, for Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, it could be either 2 or 4. How can it be 2 or 4? Because it depends. You have a whole day essentially. You could be in the beginning of that day or the end of that day, but you're still part of that day. Mixed them still gonna be kakulai. So the next day is going to be the full 2 einis. But this first day, you could either have none of the aynis or both of the aynis. And the same thing is by Rabbi Shmuel, where you could have either 4 or 6 or 5, 4, 5, or 6, because depending if he's just adding on another day. They both agree to the same principle that the aynis don't make a difference. So if let's say you're saying that they had relations on, if we're going to count the 3 days of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you're counting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay, so Thursday, Friday are for sure, each day has a day and a night, so that's 4 aynis. But then, depending on that first day, you might have another 0 aynis, 1 aynis, or 2 aynis, which is going to make either 4 aynis, 5, or 6. How's that? Because on this day, when did you have tashmish? Was it literally the end of that day? So you have none of that ayna. Again, the minute or 2 is not considered significant. So you have none of those aynas, because you had it right before, then you only have really Thursday, Friday. You're not really counting Wednesday at all. Or, did you do it in the beginning of the day? Then you have that whole ayna of the daytime, so you have 5. Or maybe you did it in the beginning of that day, in the beginning of the night. Halachically, the day starts at night. Then you have another ayna. So again, according to Rabbi Shmuel, you could have, it's dependent on 3 days. For 3 days divisibility. That could be either 4 aynas, 5 aynas, or 6 aynas. Now, B'Kiva, he says that L'olam Hey, it's always going to be 5 aynas. 5 12-hour periods are going to be considered, in other words, 60 hours from the time of relations. That's going to be the significant measurement of a mission. Now, let's say you're missing a little bit from the first time period, meaning you shouldn't have the moment the day started, the night. So you're going to give a little bit from this 6th time period, meaning when we say it's 5 time periods, it is exactly 5. You started the moment the day started, boom, you had relations, then it's 5 time periods. But if let's say you started 3 hours into the night, then you're moving 3 hours into the 6th time period, because it's always going to be exactly of 5 aynis, which is 60 hours. And whoever amid seed within those 5 complete aynis are going to be tummy. Now, so the Gemara now says, Amru Rabbanan, the rabbis, they said the following question, Kamed Rav Papa from Rav Papa. Some say it was Rav Papa. Rav Papa asked the question to Rav like this. As Rashi gives the background for the Gemara's question. We have a machlekes between Rabbanan and Rabbi Yisi and the Braisa brought on Amud Beis, where according to the Rabbanan, that it is a machlekes actually, when did the men separate from the women regarding Kabbalah Satar, regarding shiurs? The Rabbanan hold that they separated on Thursday. According to Rabbi Yisi, they separated on Wednesday. Now, according to everyone, the Gemara is going to explain, the Torah was given on Shabbos. Sarah said it was given on Shabbos. Now, since it was given on Shabbos, so obviously they went and they tabled themselves on Friday night, not in the morning. Why not in the morning? The Gemara on Amud Beis is going to say, because we don't want some going to the mikveh and some going to Mikabel the Torah at the same time. So they went to the table on Friday night. So therefore the Gemara has the following question. Bishlam Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, you understand the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who he says that a mission is a problem only for 2 days. So Krabbanan, he's like Rabbanan, the army that they say, Behei, on the 5th day of the week, on Thursday, Avid Prisha, that's when they separated from their wives. Oh, so because of that, if Thursday they separated, some men didn't separate until the last second, Chaparayim, until it got dark. Now, for the fact that they went to mikvah on Friday night, means to say that we weren't concerned anymore for any emission, any discharge they're going to have from this era. Obviously, if you omit the discharge on day 3, you're going to be tar. Because the day of the Tashmish is considered like a full day. So on Thursday, if they separate on Thursday, it means right before Shkia, they separate from the wives. Thursday is day 1. Friday is day 2. Once it comes Shabbos, we're not concerned for any emission, because mixed in kukule. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is like Rabbanan, that the separation from the wives was on Thursday. Now, Rabbi Shmuel, who he says that for 3 days it's going to be metame, and only on day 4 it's going to be tar. Okay, Rabbi Yasi. He was like Rabbi Yasi. Number that he says, Badala of Aprisha, that the men separated from their wives on Wednesday. Oh, so therefore Shabbos was day 4. Now, but like we said, some men didn't separate from their wives until literally it's like mamash about to become nighttime. So yeah, you're going to have only 4 aynis. How are you going to have 4 aynis? You have only the Thursday night and Thursday day, and sorry, you have what's called Wednesday night, what's called Leil Hay, Wednesday night and Thursday day, Thursday night and Friday day, and because they separated on Wednesday, but really Wednesday they didn't really separate. Wednesday the guys till the last second they don't have any of those aynis then, but it's still counted for the day. But you're only going to have 4 aynis. And even so, we said that when they've tabled on Friday night in the mikvah, anything after that, we're not concerned. The Torah is not going to consider them as having the tumah of carry, because it goes on days, and it's dependent on 3 days. And you had 3 days that it's maxed out on Friday night. So that explains those two opinions. But Rabbi Kiva, that we said that he says that it's 5 time periods that's going to be tamei. So if she discharges, it's going to be tamei. Come on, who's that like? In other words, from where does he learn this halacha that the Torah was particular about time periods, but it only says days? It says prepared for these amount of days. So, and we know that mitzvah kukulai. So where is he getting this idea? Either you hold that it was on Tuesday, on Wednesday they separate, or Thursday. So manashach. If you hold that it was on Wednesday, so then it's going to be like Rabbi Shmuel. If you hold it separate on Thursday, it's going to be like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So be that as it may, why is he saying it's 5 time periods? That it should either be 2, or 2 that could be 4, or 4 that could be 6, but in other words, it should be dependent on the amount of days, not the amount of time periods. Is it going to be 2 days or 3 days? Why is he getting this idea about 5 time periods? So that says the Gemara, La'ilam, the truth is that Rabbi Kiva really holds Krib Yesi, that they separated on Wednesday. So if it was Wednesday, then why doesn't he hold it Rabbi Shmuel, that it's for a time period of 3 days, that it's going to be Tamei? Because Amar Avad Barabi says, Moshe Rabbeinu Bashkama Allah. Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai to talk with Hashem on the mornings. That's when he would go up. Bashkama Yerid, and then the mornings was when he would come down. So as Rashi explains, whenever he would go up and come down, it would always be in the early morning. How do we know this? Because Bashkama Allah, in the morning we go up. That's like it says the pasuk in Shemais. So the Yashke Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe got up early in the morning. B'Yal El Har Sinai, went up to Har Sinai. Now how do we know Bashkama Yerid that he would come down in the early mornings? Because like the pasuk says, Lech Reid, go down, V'Lisa Atav Aaron Imach, and go up, you and Aaron with you. So Makish, you read Lali in the same pasuk, he's talking about going down and coming up. Ma'ali Bashkama, just like going up was in the early morning. After you read Bashkama, so too going down was in the early morning. So Rashi explains. So what do you see from here? So when it says in the pasuk about going down, Vayerid Moshe min al la'am, that Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain to the people, Vayikadesh ha'am, and he sanctified the people. What's that sanctification? We know Kedusha is always Prisha, is that he separated them from their wives. When was that? That was Bahashkama. That was in Wednesday morning. From the fact that he had to separate them on Wednesday morning, obviously, is because from Wednesday morning till Friday night is how many time periods? It's 5 time periods. So you see the Torah is particular about that amount of time period. That's where he gets it from. So although, yeah, it was Wednesday, but it wasn't Wednesday in the beginning of Wednesday, which is what we call Tuesday night. It was Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning, and you calculate it's going to be, because you're starting halfway through a day, which 5 time periods till Friday night. That's why we see that it's totally in the emission of seed, how long it's going to be viable to have the dough. Now the Gemara has a different question. It says, wait a second. It says that Lama lei lamemlahu. Why do you have to tell them in the morning not to have relations? Because if the woman's going to emit seed, it's going to be viable and it's going to be tummy by Har Sinai, and we don't want anyone to have that tumah. Why do you have to say it at all? V'amar Rav Huna said Yisrael Kadesh Neim, the Jewish people are holy. They don't have marriage relations during the daytime. Rashi brings interestingly the source. He says a pasuk in Mishlei. The pasuk says, "B'ezid derachim," the one who degrades his ways, Yamas will die. What that means to say is that marital relations requires modesty and not to look, because it's degrading, and therefore we don't have relations during the day anyway. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to tell them in the morning? Oh, stop right now, everyone, stop. What? Stop what? No one's having relations anyway during the daytime. Why do you have to tell them in the morning? So the Gemara Hamar Rava, but Rava says, if it's a dark room, it's actually permitted. So there are ways to be able to have relations during the daytime. And so to Amar Rava, Vitam and some say Rav Papa, a Talmud Chacham, a Talmud scholar, he's discreet, he's modest, he doesn't gaze. For him, it's sufficient. Even if it's not a dark room, he could just cover with his cloak, and it's permitted. So therefore, you see there are viable ways, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu did have to separate them in the morning. And from the fact that he separated in the morning till Friday night was 5 time periods, and therefore that's why we see that the halacha was going to be, as we see in this slide, that it was early in the morning on Dalit, which these are the time periods. Each day has 2 time periods, but starting from the daytime of Dalit, you have the time periods end up being 5 time periods until the mikvah on Friday night. That's why, that's the source of Rabbi Kiva's opinion. Now, as continued in Beis, The Gemara has the next question. Then the Gemara says, wait a second. Vaha, since according to all the opinions, you're telling me they went to the mikveh, they immersed themselves on Friday night to make sure whatever tumah they did have of carry, they purified themselves. But then Tvula Yom Ninu. That means to say when they had Kabbalah Satira, they were what's called a Tvul Yom. A Tvul Yom is when someone's tummy. So there's a few parts and stages depending on what the tumah is. For Meiser, actually, once you go to the mikveh, you're Torah already, you could already partake for Meiser. But let's say for Truma, you're only, and which is generally the understood halacha, is you're only tahar when it's already Harav Shemesh, when you have sundown. The problem is that you went to the mikveh after it's dark, you don't have Harav Shemesh. You have to have already been immersed during the day, it's called Tvul Yom, and then have sundown. If you went after night already, not like Nida, we know that a woman goes at nighttime, that's a different halacha. Generally, regarding Tvul Yom, let's say the purification of a person of Tahara, you immerse yourself during the daytime, like Kahanim used to do, and then at nighttime, when it's Harav Shemesh, you become pure. Here, when they're in the mikveh Friday night, they're going to be Tvul Yom, they're going to be Tvul Yom when they accept the Torah, because they didn't have Harav Shemesh after they immersed themselves in the mikveh. Now, since that's the case, as Rashi explains what the Gemara is essentially asking, it would sound like then that they didn't immerse themselves on Friday night. If they were Makabel Torah on Shabbos, you want to be pure on Shabbos, you have to have Harav Shemesh Friday night. They didn't say they went to the mikveh on Friday afternoon. And even so, you tell me whatever they discharge afterwards is going to be tahar. The problem is, according to all opinions now, you're missing one aina, according to everyone. According to everyone, Friday afternoon was one of the ainas, which you said it could be 5 ainas, it could be 4 or 2, depending which opinion you go like. But the point is, you're missing one aina because they obviously didn't go to mikvah on Friday night. They obviously went during Friday afternoon because they went Friday night, they're Tvul Yom. I think Mar says, yeah. Abai Barav and also for Rav Chanina Barav, they say, they will say, the Torah Tvul Yom. The Torah was given to Tvul Yom. Yeah, you're right. They did not have the tahara level of Harav Shemesh that like a kohen generally has when he's coming to eat his truma. No, they went to make it for Friday night. Even though they didn't have Harav Shemesh, they were considered like a Tvul Yom. Tvul Yom is also a level of tahara. That's what they have by Kabbalah Satara. Now, actually, Yosef Merim B'Ka'amala Lahashmaita. Merim was saying, he was saying over this teaching. Now, Amalei Ravina and Merim, so Ravina said Merim, Nitna Kamar, are you really saying the Torah was really given to Tvul Yom? Means to say there were certain women that had really emitted seed, and they went to the mikveh Friday night, and by Kabbalah Torah they were really only like a quasi level of Torah of only Tvul Yom? Are you saying that it was fit to? Meaning the feasibility was there, had that been such a case, that's what would have been, but really no one was really a Tvul Yom, because they really did not emit seed, and they were not a Tvul Yom at that point. Because if they went to mikveh on the earlier day, well, they didn't emit any seed. Somebody says, Ru'ui coming, he says, all I was saying was that it was fit for the Torah to have been given to a Tvul Yom because of the situation, as this Tana holds, that the Torah is not particular about Tvul Yom, because it doesn't say Harav Shemesh in the context of Kabbalah Torah, it only says it regarding the halach of Kansha. So therefore, all the 3 days that it says regarding the Prisha, that they had to separate before the Tefillah, that was only regarding the feasibility. But as Rashi explains, the Torah was not given to any Tvul Yom. And the reason for that is because they actually already immersed themselves a previous time, and after that time they didn't have any more discharges. Now, had they discharged, then they would have gone to the mikvah on Friday night, but they didn't have to. So the Torah really left room that it could have been for Tvul Yom. Had a woman discharged on Friday afternoon, she would have had to go to mikvah Friday night, and then she would have been Tvul Yom. But really, it never happened. Whoever discharged already earlier, she already went to the mikvah once before, and she already had Harav Shemesh from Friday night, and therefore that's not what actually happened, but it could have been like that. Now the Gemara asks the question the way Rashi understands it on Rabbi Kiva. The Gemara asks, "V'litvalu beinei shimshi." So let them immerse themselves by twilight, which Rashi explains beinei shimshi is the terminology we use for Friday night, because since that bein hashmashis is such a famous bein hashmashis, because bein hashmashis by Friday night, shkia or whatever, people commonly use the word shkia. Now you say shkia, right? Shabbos, So bein shimshi means Friday night. So let them go to mikveh Friday night. That we're saying they went to mikveh Friday night. But the question is, let them have been makabel Torah on Friday night. So the question on Rabbi Kiva is, he was particular in his opinion of 5 oinais. That's how much it was particular about. So then why didn't they accept the Torah on Friday night? Because we're going to see shortly there is an opinion that answers this question that they were actually particular about 6 oinais, even though it was given on, meaning they were separated on Wednesday morning. So Wednesday morning, so Rabbi Kiva says, oh, what do you see? Wednesday morning, Friday night, 5 oinais. That's how long the discharge is. Friday night is not going to be a problem anymore. Any discharge, that's where they could go to mikveh. Then they can be tar. So why did they wait until the morning to give the Torah? It sounds like from that, and that's the difficulty on Rabbi Kiva, that obviously if she would discharge on Friday night, it would be coming, because it's within 6 oinais from Wednesday morning. That's why they had to give the Torah on Wednesday morning, so that on Shabbos morning, so that because if a woman would discharge Friday night, she actually would be tummy, and therefore wouldn't be sufficient going to mikvah Friday night and then giving the Torah. That's a different Rabbi Kiva who says that no, Friday night it wouldn't be tummy. Then why do you give the Torah Friday night? That's how Rashi explains the Gemara's question. So Rabbi Yitzchak, he quotes a pasuk in Yeshaya. It says, Loi meroish, not from the beginning does Hashem say, B'seisu dibarti, that I would speak in secret. In other words, I didn't want to speak in a dark, quiet, clandestine place, which at nighttime, it's very dark. Hashem says, no, I want everyone to see in broad daylight, which actually this is one of the greatest, in the Discovery seminars, they talk about this thing about Kabbalah, Satira. This is 3 million people, a phenomenon that never happened in the world. Hashem says, I want the whole world to see this. I'm not giving it dark and the secret, like, oh, who said that it ever happened? Therefore, Hashem gave the Torah during the daytime. You're right. Of course, He could have given that nighttime, because if a woman discharged would not be tummy. But they specifically wanted it to be during the daytime. But then the Gemara asks, wait a second. So, v'lit a little bit tzafat the Shabbat. So now let people go to the mikvah Shabbos in the free. Shabbos in the morning, and then have Kabbalah of Torah. Kach noch the mikveh. I don't know if there's a kavod there, noch them and we go with Kabbalah of Torah. Why did and essentially the way Rashi says the question really is that why did Hashem have to have them separate from their wives on Wednesday morning? Why couldn't they have separated on Wednesday night? And then you would have the 5 aynis by Shabbos in the morning. And then, if they would have any discharge after the tefillah, they're tahar because it's already after 5 periods. If they would discharge on Friday night and become tummy, we don't care because they'll table Shabbos in the morning because a Bakeri who tables that day, he could table on Shabbos. So there's no problem about tabling on Shabbos. And you're telling me the Torah was given to Tvuliyayim. So then, if you tell me you want to give the Torah on Shabbos in the morning because I don't want people to think it's I want everyone to see it. So okay, so then why are you separating them on Wednesday morning so that you get the 5 time periods that you'll be done by Friday night? Why? Why have to go mikvah Friday morning? Go to mikvah Shabbos in the free for Shabbos in the morning. So Rabbi Yitzchak says no, that's for a different reason. Shaloi yehei halolu halchim l'kabbalah Torah. You have some Jews on their way to go receive the Torah, but halolu halchim l'tefillah, and other people are going to the mikvah, and we don't want that to be done. Now Taisa actually asks. He says, wait a second. Why do you need Rabbi Yitzchak then to say the drasha of Loi meroish b'seisu dibarti? The reason is because of you can't have the people going to the mikvah at the same time. That's why you needed the mikvah Friday night and then Shabbos. In other words, that itself is the reason. Why you have to say because of secret? Stay says no. You could say that you need it because if not, you would thought okay, let them table Friday night and then by chatzayif, by midnight, then give the Torah. And therefore we have to say no. We don't want to do that night time at all. We want to do it during the daytime. Now, so why don't you say do the same thing in the morning? Go to mikvah Shabbos in the free, and noch the mechatzos, make get the Torah. Was the zmanim, right? What's the big deal? And that says Rashi no. Says Taisa no because that would be bittul Talmud Torah. You have to. It sounds like from the first when they say nighttime is different than the daytime, but what are they doing till chatzos, right? No, Kabbalah Torah klach in the free, mitachayim mitapren. Therefore, you need both interpretations. You need Loi meroish b'seisu dibarti, and you also need this to say that we don't want people going to the mikveh at the same time. We got zman, Kabbalah Torah, we got mikveh. No, we don't want to have that. Wanted to have it. Therefore, they went to mikveh Friday night, and then they got the Torah Shabbos in the morning by Vasik, and they got it right away in the morning. And that's the idea that because Friday night, even if they had a discharge over Friday night, it's not a problem. Even the woman admits to see after day 3, which according to some opinions, according to keep it's 5 aynis, it's not going to be Natam anymore. Now, actually, and this was what Rashi was bavarning in the Gemara's Kasha itself, the Gemara actually brings a different opinion, which actually is going to answer the question that we just asked. He says, actually, Zud Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva. This is the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva that they hold the Torah was given on Wednesday. But Rabbi Shmuel holds, okay, Wednesday is dependent on the days. So Wednesday's day 1, Thursday's day 2, Friday's day 3. That we see Tammuz for 3 days. And Shabbos was when the Torah was given the day 4. It's not going to be a problem about admitting and see. Kiva was saying no. But ultimately, you have to set it from the wise Wednesday morning. So it's the amount of time period. Why morning? Because it's 5 time periods. You have the Wednesday day, you have Wednesday night, Thursday day, Thursday night, Friday day, which are 5 time periods. That's their opinions. The Chacham actually say, no, Sheish Oyne Shleimus Bina. They also hold, like Rabbi Yasi, that they were separated from the wives on Wednesday. And that the order was given on Wednesday morning like Rabbi Kiva. But they don't hold that the mikvah was on Friday night. Rather, they hold that those who went to the mikvah on Friday night, and if they discharge after the mikvah, they actually would have to tovel Shabbos in the morning. And that is why the Shechina held back from giving the Torah until the morning, not because B'seisa Dibarti. No, because if a woman Friday night, middle of the night, discharge, you don't have full 6 aynis. They have to be three complete days, not mixes yom kikule, which are 6 time periods, and that's why the Torah was given during the daytime for that reason itself. Now, parenthetically to this discussion, the Gemara discusses a few more points about Paileta Shel Lazar. Amar Chizli says, Machlekes, this whole Machlekes that we had regarding what's the viability of the Zera, is it 2 days, is it 3 days, is it what we would call, let's say, 2.5 days, which are 5 aynis, is it 3 complete days, not mixed in kuli, 6 aynis? That whole Machlekes was Shapirshim and the Isha, when it's coming out of the woman, which is called Paileta Shel Lazar, that she got from the male. That Rabbi Elazar ben Azar says that it's going to putrefy after 2 days because it gets heated up in her body and it's not viable anymore, which is a miracle in itself. The doctors always talk about how did the child form from this thing. There's so many different things. The heat of the body is going to putrefy. It's not going to be viable as a child anymore. There's only a certain limited amount of time that the zera is conceivable. Now, I'll pierce him in Ish, but let's say when it's discharged from a man onto a garment, Tameya. That's going to be metame as long as forever, kozman shilacha. As long as it's moist, even if it's so to speak putrefied, it's still going to be metame. It's only like Rashi explains, if it dries up, then it's not going to be metame anymore, because then it's not fit to conceive a child anymore. But as long as it's moist, it's not going to be putrefied after 2 or 3 days. In the woman's body is hot. Everyone has body temperature. That's going to create it to putrefy. That it's not going to be real as real. But from coming out of a man and it's on a garment, for 4 days it could still continue as long as it didn't dry up. That's still being able to create a child. That's how. That's what the Gemara is explaining. Now, actually, Taisus asked a question. He says, "I don't understand what's the chiddush of Rav Chizda. This is a Mishnah Masechtas Nida that says many different things. Zav and the roik and the shechla zera. They're metamilach. It's just not metam when it's dry. So what's the chiddush of Rav Chizda? That's a Mishnah. So Taisus says two interpretations. One of them being very interesting. He says that, first he says not difficult, because you could explain that there, when it was coming to his tummy of moist, is when within 3 days, you wouldn't know the chiddush that's even after 3 days without Rav Chizda. But in Tam, because of this question, he says, you're right, it's not talking about parsh min hazachar, which means the male emits the seed in the normal way. It means that he emits the seed that he was nirva by a zachar. When he's poilet dezera, similar to the case of an isha, that is what we're talking about. His body, and when his zera that he got from the zachar is not going to go ahead and create it putrefied like it is by the woman. The woman, when she receives it, her body is different than that of the man. Be that as it may, the Gemara, however, asks most of Rav Sheshet asked from the following brayso, which quotes the pasuk in the Yikra. Pasuk says, "Chol begin, in any garment, chol or in any leather, asher yilov shechla zera, that's going to have in it semen, then it's going to be tummy. That's the halacha of tumah of shechla zera." Now, from the wording of the pasuk, it sounds like that it's going to be as it was formed. The shechla zera is going to be as it came out of the man. Prat, the shechla zera shisrucha, says the brayso, and what's that excluding? If the zera is already putrefied. Says the Gemara, Mailam, isn't it talking about Shapirshim and the Ish? Sounds like, yeah, it came from the man. The man's zera ended up on the garment, and still we see it's going to be tar when it putrefies, and it doesn't say it's excluding when it dries up. So that contradicts what we just said before, that from the male, it will be tamei, even if it's masrachas, as long as it didn't dry up. So the Gemara, no, Shapirshim and the Ish is talking about where it came from the woman. That's what we're saying, that it's prat l'shavazeh. Then after 2 or 3 days, or whatever opinion you hold like, that's when it's going to be. But from the man, yeah, it's going to go even longer. Now the Gemara has another interesting discussion. Boyer Papa says, "Shich v'zer shel Yisrael, the semen of a Jewish man, b'mei kutis, in the womb of a non-Jewish woman. Ma, what's the halacha? Would we say that it's going to putrefy in 3 days like a Jewish woman, and that if let's say she emits the seed after 3 days, it's going to be tar whoever touches that droplet of semen, or not?" Now Rashi explains why we're picking specifically a Jewish man. His seed is because a non-Jewish man's seed, the Gemara says himself this nida and the Lamadam Manaf, his carries tar. He does not have his seminal mission does not have any tumah. It's only a Jewish man. So the Jewish man's seed that has tumah, what's the halacha if it was in a non-Jewish woman's womb, and then on day 3, or depending whatever opinion you hold like, then the woman admits it. What's the question? So the Gemara explains what the question is. On the one hand, you'll say Yisrael, the di'igi b'mitzvahs. The Jewish people are very worried about mitzvahs. This is actually where the famous term of charedim in Eretz Yisrael comes from. I heard many people don't like the term charedim, but Rashi brings the term over here. The Jewish people are charedim. They're afraid, they're petrified to fulfill mitzvahs. And since they're so worried, that heats up their body, as the pasuk says in Tehillim, Cham libi b'kirbi, my heart is heated up inside of me. It's like we're worked up, we get hot, we get heated up for the mitzvahs. So Chavul Gufai, so the Jewish women's bodies are warm. So their body putrefies the seed that after day 2 or day 3, it's going to be in a royal Azriya. But Akum Delay Digim mitzvahs, the non-Jewish people, they're chilled. What's the big rush? Even some of the religions of the non-Jews, they don't have that many requirements. Yidden, every second, everything, nacha mitzvah, nacha locha, nacha zav. But the Goyim, they don't have that word lie. So the non-Jewish woman's body is not going to putrefy the seed after 2 or 3 days. I tell them, no, even the achlan shkatzim ermasin, since they bug and vermin, chavul gufayu, that those bugs heat up their body for some scientific reason, and because of that reason, therefore, it's going to have the same halacha of being in a royal azri after 2 or 3 days. Now says the Gemara, fine. The intim, so maybe we're going to say kim nachlish katzim ermasin, since they eat the bug and the vermin, chavul gufayu. So yeah, the non-Jewish women, they're also their body gets heat up, and it's also going to be masriach the zera, but behema. What's the halacha if the seed of a Jewish man is in the womb of an animal? What's the question over here? The Gemara says, Isha by a woman, he the isla proiser. She has what's called a corridor. She has the vaginal canal, which is the flesh of the walls of the uterus, which sticks out in the outer part. The base of rechem, the womb itself, is within the what's called bein hashinayim, from those muscles over there. So a woman has a vaginal canal. So it's like a corridor, it's like a hallway. So masrachas, so that's going to putrefy. In other words, the ear can't get into her body. So that area is like a heated chamber that's going to heat up and therefore putrefy the seed. Behemoth, what's interesting in contrast the anatomy of an animal, the less praiser. Animal's right there. The uterus is right there on the outside, and therefore light. It's not going to. There's no area of just a heated chamber like a corridor by a woman. Therefore, by the animals, maybe it's not going to putrefy the seed. And even after day 3, it's still going to have a tumah of the zirshel hazar. Maybe there's no difference. Ultimately, it's inside the animal, and therefore, the animalistic part of that, like a human body, the animal has the same thing. Maybe it would putrefy. So it's going to take a let's say it's not clear what the halacha would be if the zera is emitted from the animal, the non-Jewish woman. After 3 days, if someone touches it with that, it goes on the beggar. Is it going to be too much or not? That's not clear what the halacha is going to be.
Why can't it be considered just like said before,
oh, so that's what I'm saying. That's the tzad of why it would be metame. On the other tzad is that by the woman, even if it's moist, it's in a real azriya. So it can still be semen. It's not dried up, but the woman already neutralized the viability, the feasibility of becoming a child because of the heat. And when you put things under extreme heat, it kills the chemical compounds that are inside. The woman's body is so hot, it's still lacha, but it kills it from being able to be fertilized anymore. So that's the question regarding the non-Jewish woman and the animal. Yeah, it's still lacha, but did the heat inside the creature destroy the feasibility of being able to be fertilized and conceived as a child? And the Gemara says, it's not clear. Now, we go back to what we had referenced earlier in the daf regarding when was the Torah given, because we had the discussion regarding Elazar and Nazar and Bishmal, regarding their opinions of how long is the seed going to be zera, to be metam, the woman who emits that seed. She's like a balkari when she's emitting the seed herself from that she got from the zachar. How long is that going to be for? Is it 2 or 3 days? We said their opinion depends on when were they separated. Did they separate on Wednesday? Let's separate on Thursday. If it's on Thursday, that's Thursday, Friday. So on Wednesday, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's the discussion we're going to bring over here. When was Kabbalah Satara and all the dates leading up from Rosh Chodesh? On the 6th day of the month, we have a machlekes, which actually we rule like this one. The Torah was given on the 6th of Sivan. Now, Rashi addressed a very important question, but the pasuk says in Shemais, the cloud covered the mountain for 6 days. It says it came on the 7th day. So Rashi explains that he holds a Gebisa Glili that says in the Seftes Yomim of Dalam and Alf that story was actually after Aseret Sedibros. After Aseret Sedibros, Moshe Rabbeinu, before he went up for the 40 days, he first, for 6 days, he was covered in the mountain, and then he went up on the 7th day, but that's not the 7th day of Sivan. It's post Har Sinai. But actually, the Torah was given on the 6th of Sivan, which on this year is on Friday, Actually, it's interesting that it's Friday and Shabbos, but on 6th of Sivan is when the Torah was given. Recently disagrees. On the 7th of Sivan, here in Chutz La'aretz we have 2 days, Shavuos, which is actually Vav and Zayin. But it's actually machlekes. When was the Torah given? Was the Torah given on the 6th of Sivan or the 7th? Which Rashi explains. Rabbi Yossi holds, like the opinion, that Moshe Rabbeinu and the whole Jewish people, they all were waiting to accept the Aseret Adibis, and on the 7th day, that's the pasuk of Yom HaShvi. And why did it say Moshe Rabbeinu was called up? Because it was just giving honor to Moshe Rabbeinu, but that pasuk actually before Mount Torah. And the cloud covered Har Sinai. You always see the picture of the cloud covering. That's, according to this interpretation, it covered it those 6 days. And on the 7th day, then Moshe Rabbeinu, but really all of Klal Yisrael went to receive the Torah. Now, the Gemara explains as follows. He says there's 2 premises that everyone agrees to. The Kuliyam, everyone agrees, Rish Chodesh Aslan Midbar Sinai. That year, when they came, Rish Chodesh Sivan, when they came to the mount, they were going on the travel, they just left Mitzrayim, there's 49 days, we're counting the Sphere Sa'imer, they're coming towards Kabbalah Torah. Rish Chodesh Sivan of that year is when they came to Midbar Sinai. That's when they made the camping at Sinai. How do we know that? It says over here in the pasuk in Shemais, by Yom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai, and this day, it says the word Hazeh, they came to Midbar Sinai. It says over there, earlier pasuk, it says, this month for you will be the beginning of all the months, which is referring to Rish Chodesh of Nisan. Now, it says over there Hazeh, it says over here Hazeh has Gzeir Shabbat. Malahan Rish Chodesh, over there it says Hazeh is Rish Chodesh, Avkam Rish Chodesh, also over here when it says they came Hazeh, this day, to Mount Sinai, to the desert of Sinai, was on Rish Chodesh. That's one premise. Another premise is, the Kuliyama, everyone holds, B'Shabbos and Torah Yisrael. The Torah was given to Klal Yisrael on Shabbos. Now, importantly, that my stepfather told me, he says that actually there is a very interesting Maratzchias, that there's a Yavitz actually brings on this Gemara that actually was given on Friday. And he had a discussion with Reb Chaim Kanievsky about this, with the Yerushalmi, that he quoted also on Friday, which the Gemara says the Kuliyama, and everyone knows everyone is given on Shabbos. The Kuliyama doesn't always mean everyone, it can mean what's being discussed in that arena, in that place, which in our Gemara we're saying that everyone agrees that the Torah is given on Shabbos. But in case you come across something about Friday, which actually interesting, this year is actually Friday and Shabbos, Vav and Zayin Sivan, so it does get interesting. Those who are very into the messianic messages, regarding the world coming back to as it was. But the point is that in our Gemara, everyone agrees that the Torah is given on Shabbos. How do we know this? Simcha, it says over here, Zachas Em Shabbos Akash. On Aseret Adibis, which was given by Matan Torah, one of the Aseret Adibis, the 10 Commandments, was remember the day of Shabbos to sanctify. Ksiv Hassan says earlier pasuk, it says that the Yom Moshe La'am. Moshe said to the people, Zachar Seyem Hazeh. Remember this day. What's this day? So the pasuk there continues, Asher Yitzhasim in Mitzrayim, which you left Egypt. So we make a following comparison. Malahan, just like over there, when it says, when Moshe Rabbeinu told the Jewish people, Zachar Seyem Hazeh, remember this day. When did he tell to them? Be'itzu Shel Yom. When they were leaving Egypt, he was telling them, remember this day. Remember we left Egypt and we're still remembering all our Siddharim. It's all making that original recollection that Moshe Rabbeinu told them to remember this day. So Avkan, also over here by Shabbos, we were comparing it to Yetzias Mitzrayim, was also Be'itzu Mishal Yom. It's also in the essence of the day, meaning on Shabbos, we were being told to remember Shabbos. Just like when we left Mitzrayim, we were being told to remember Mitzrayim. On Shabbos, we're being told to remember Shabbos. So when it says Zachas and Shabbos Akadre, it's the same as Zachas and Yom Hazeh. Just like over there, they were being told to remember on the day it was happening. Here also, everyone agrees the Torah was given on Shabbos. Why? Because on the day that it's happening, we're being told to remember that day, which was Shabbos. So those are 2 premises. Everyone agrees to again that Rish Chodesh came to Midbar Sinai, and Torah was given on Torah to Yisrael. So what is their machlekes? Ki pligi, the machlekes is the kviya diyarcha. The machlekes is, however, what day of the week was Rosh Chodesh that year? Rabbi Yossi, who says that the Torah was given on the 7th of Sivan, Sabar he held, the Chad B'Shabbat Ikviyarcha, which is like this year, on Sunday was Rish Chodesh. So if Sunday's Rish Chodesh and the Torah was given on Shabbos, guess what? 7th of Sivan was Matan Torah. Now he explains what actually happened. B'Chad B'Shabbat, they came on Rish Chodesh, as we said, on Sunday to Mount Sinai. On Sunday, they just came, their journey. There's no messages today. Nothing was being done on that day. And the reason is they were weakened from the travels, so there's no transmission of laws and of commandments on that day. But Trei B'Shabbat, okay, on Monday, then they were notified that you're going to be for me a nation of priests. The Jewish people are alike to the nations of the world. We are the priests. Now, as Rashi explains, it says Moshe went up, Vayikra Alav, and Hashem spoke to him. That whole parsha until Ela Dvar Mashet, these words were said to him the next day on Monday morning. Because like we said previously, whenever he went up was only in the morning. So if they came on Sunday, whatever day in time of Sunday, there's obviously no transmission from Hashem because he only went up in the mornings. And they were traveling Sunday, they came there on Sunday. And Rashi explains that even though according to the opinion that holds that Moshe Rabbeinu actually did come down, not necessarily in the morning, because he does not compare it to the Hashkama, which we said is only learned out because it says Allah and Yerid in the same pasuk. But he agrees that Moshe Rabbeinu only went up in the mornings because it says explicitly in the pasuk, "Vayashkem Moshe Rabbeinu v'yal Har Sinai." So regarding going up, everyone agrees it was in the mornings. So that's what's saying. Monday morning they were notified. Moshe Rabbeinu went up and he got the transmission from Hashem. You, the Jewish people, are going to be Mamlechas kind. We continue on the top of Pezayim and Alf, but plus some of them. On Tuesday, he said to them, Mitzvah Hagbal, the mitzvah of creating boundaries, creating the fences, which what happened, as Rashi explains, the message of Mamlechas Kainim was said to the Jewish people on Monday. And the way Rashi says it over here is that he went up on Monday morning, he then came down on Monday night, and he said to the Jewish people, like it says in the pasuk, he came and he says, I want you to know, Hashem chose you. He wants you to be Mamlechas Kainim v'Goy Kadosh. The next morning, on Tuesday morning, Moshe Rabbeinu gets up, and the pasuk says, "Vayashem Moshe's Divriyam." He came and he returned the response of the Jewish people, which they said, "We're going to do. We're going to do as Hashem said." And like we said, whenever he went up was in the morning. On that day, on Tuesday, he was told, "I'm going to come to you in a cloud," and Hashem commanded that not everyone could just come up to the mountain. You have to make fences around. Be careful that no one comes up to the mountain. Now, Rashi says, although that's really written after in the pasuk of V'kidash L'Yem Machar, which is the mitzvah of Prisha, of separating, Rashi explains it was actually said beforehand. Because it says when he went up on Tuesday morning to return the response of the Jewish people that they said Nasa, then it says Hinei Anochim Ba'alecha, which the end of the pasuk says V'yagid Moshe's Divriyam. What type of words are the words of the people? That's the mitzvah of Hagbalah that was said on that day, as we bring a brisa later on regarding this idea. There's a brisa that says the same idea, that it says on the evening he said to the Jewish people, and on the next day, on Wednesday morning, Moshe Rabbeinu got up and he went back and gave the response of that the Jewish people are accepting the mitzvah of Hagbalah. But again, that was told to him on Tuesday morning with the mitzvah of creating the fences, and then Ba'arba of it Prisha. On Wednesday, he was then told the mitzvah of separating from the wives. That's the pasuk of the G'dash L'Yem you should separate today and tomorrow. Rashi addresses the question, although there was really 3 days until Shabbos. The Gemara tells us later on, according to Rabbi Yossi, Moshe Rabbeinu added on 1 day on his own understanding. So, although it says Hayom HaMachar, but really Wednesday was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But that was the mitzvah of Prisha. So that's, again, if you see on this chart, this slide, Rosh Chodesh Sivan didn't say anything, that was on Sunday. On Monday was Vatan Tili Mamlechas Kainim, and they responded Kol Asher Di B'Hashem Nasa. Then on Tuesday, Moshe Rabbeinu gave the report back to Hashem on Tuesday morning, and Hashem told him the mitzvah of Hagbalah. Then on Wednesday morning, when they went back up, he told that they accepted the mitzvah of Hagbalah, and then we're told about the mitzvah of Prisha. So on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with the 3 days of Prisha, that's what we explained, that's what the opinion who holds that for 3 days is going to be tummy. On the 4th day, that was the 7th of Sivan, that was the 4th day of Prisha, that's one opinion. But Rabbanan, they held, no, B'trei b'Shabbat Kviach. It was on Monday there was Rosh Chodesh. Oh, B'trei b'Shabbat, so it's the same thing really, just 1 day further. B'trei b'Shabbat Le'mal Lamidi, so the first day they came there, which was a Monday, which was Rosh Chodesh, they didn't say anything, because they were weak. But Klasim on Tuesday, they were told, Vadim Tiyuli, you should be a king of a priest. But on Wednesday, they were told the mitzvah of creating fences that people don't climb up Mount Sinai when it's given. But hey, on Thursday of Prisha, that's when they had the separation. So therefore comes out that Shabbos, which according to everyone was the 3rd day, was actually Vav Sivan. That's the Machlek is Matan Torah the 6th of Sivan, 7th of Sivan. Really depends on when was Rosh Chodesh of that year. Was Rosh Chodesh like it is this year on Sunday? Then, like it's going to be this year, Shabbos is going to be Zayin Sivan. So therefore, that's when the Torah is given, because according to everyone in this Gemara, Shabbos is given on Shabbos. The Torah is given on Shabbos. Or do we say that no, they came on Monday? Rosh Chodesh was on Monday, not like it's this year. And therefore, Shabbos would then be the 6th of Sivan, and therefore Shavuos that year was on Shabbos according to everyone, but was the 6th of Sivan, the 7th of Sivan. That's the machlekes they have in the Gemara. And again, that's really what the machlekes we said of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azar is going to be. If it's 2 days or 3 days that the discharge of zera from the woman is going to be viable, depending on when the mitzvah prisha was. Mitzvah prisha was either on Tuesday or Wednesday, because it's always going to be that many days into when they came, because everybody agrees day 1 they didn't say anything, day 2 was Mamlechas Kohanim, day 3 was Hagbala, and day 4 was Prisha. Now day 4 is either going to be Wednesday or Thursday. That's the machlekes in the Gemara regarding the day of Kabbalah Sateh. Some of the things we learned on today's daf was we continue with the next mission regarding Minayin. Where do we know? So we had a few halachas. One was, where do we know that if a woman's parlet to shechva zera, that on the day 3 it's going to be tummy? That we learned from Heinachem L'Shleish Sham, which actually we're going to have to explain according to the other opinion what's exactly to the 3rd day. But the point is that they had to have 3 days. Again, depends on how you qualify. But the point is that according to this opinion of the Mishnah, Wednesday was when they separated on Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were the 3 days, and then Shabbos is already day 4. Then it's going to be tar. But for 3 days, it's going to be tummy. Now we see that there are 3 days of preparation. Because for 3 days, it's going to be tummy. Second halacha was, where do we know that you wash the child that had the circumcision, the bris milah, on the day 3, even though it's Shabbos? It's because it says on the day 3, b'yesim kayvim, with the people of Shechem, you see on day 3 it's a lot of pain, so the child is masukin, so you're allowed to bathe him on Shabbos. Third halacha was, how do you know that you tie on this red thread on the azazel, on the one that's thrown off the cliff? Because it says, which that tells us like a thread of red to tell us that when it changed into white, which what happened in the Beis HaMikdash, that the Jewish people were forgiven. And how do we know that anointing is like drinking regarding the laws of Yom Kippur? Because the pasuk says, "Kamayim bekibrech shemen batzmaisav," that just like water which you drink, which really is that's only zeichel because really it's talking about bathing with it, but that's like oil which you anoint, and that's where we see the halacha that it's similar regarding the prohibition of Yom Kippur. We asked a question. It says the Reisha, the Mishnah, regarding 3 days of Tumah, of Zera, that's not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azar, because he holds day 3, it's actually going to be tar, it's only Tumah for 2 days. Yet the Seifa, according to the law of Mila, Machitzines Mila, that is like him, as we'll see later on, this Masechta. So the Gemara says, okay, if you're like the opinion that usually likes having it with one Tana, you have to say that there's an error, you have to say that actually day 3, it's supposed to say Tahir, it's only Tumah for 2 days. Or, you have to say that it's like 2 different Tanaim, and you're right, the Reish is not like Rabbi Elazar ben Azar, like Rabban, then say it like Rabbi Elazar ben Azar. And regarding this halacha, Peleta Shechva Zera, when does it become tar? When does it become a sriach in the woman's body? So we have 4 different opinions. First opinion says on day 3, which means that it's only tummy for 2 days. Why? That's going like the opinion that holds that on Thursdays when they did Prisha. Thursday, so only have Thursday and Friday. Mixed as Yom Kikulai. So you see that's only viable for 2 days. Once it became Shabbos, there's already going to be tar. Then we have Rabbi Shmuel, who he says no, sometimes it's for 4 or 5 or 6 ainas, but the main idea was that it's going to be tar, it's going to be tummy for 3 days. It's only going to become tahar on day 4. Where do you know that from? Because he holds like Rabbi Yossi that the Prisha was on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we don't care. Like we said, that could be 4 or 5 or 6 time periods. If you did it in the beginning of Wednesday, beginning of day Wednesday, the end of Wednesday, so you might have none of those ainas, 1 of those ainas, 2 of those ainas. But the point is, it's going to be dependent on 3 days. Then we have the opinion of Rabbi Kiva, who held no, it's specifically 5 ainas, because yes, he held like Rabbi Yossi, the separation was on Wednesday, but it was on the morning of Wednesday. And therefore that comes out to a period of 60 hours, which is of 5 ainas. Then we had an opinion of 6 ainas. And that's why the Torah was nitna on Yom Shabbos, specifically on the day, because you needed to have the 6 ainas from Wednesday morning till Shabbos morning, which is 6 ainas, which was 72 hours and not 60 hours. That was the opinion of the Rabban. Now, where do we know that it was Babayka that they separated from the wives? Because all the Yeridis and Aliyahs were Ba'ashkama were in the morning. Now, but then the Gemara questions, okay, but why do you have to separate it anyways Wednesday morning? Even if you need the 5 ainas from Wednesday morning, you don't have to tell them Wednesday morning. Tell them Wednesday night. No one's having Tashma Shemitah anyways during the daytime. The Jewish people are holy. I said, no, you could, either in a dark room, or there might be some people who might be doing it Wednesday during the daytime, maybe you have to separate them Wednesday morning. And then the Gemara says, wait a second. According to all opinions, if you're telling me they're going to the mikvah on Friday night, and that's where the calculation ends, Again, either because of the amount of days or the amount of einis. The problem is they were Tvuli Yayim. Going to mikvah Friday night, because you have to have full days, let's say the full days of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Friday, or according to Kiva, all the einis till Friday night. You're going to mikvah Friday night, you're Tvuli Yayim, Shabbos in the day. You didn't have Erev Shemesh. The Gemara says yes. It was given, as the Gemara ultimately concluded, for Ro. Again, the race goes on. For Ro. It wasn't actually given to those that were Tvuli Yayim. It could have been. Had a woman discharged on Friday afternoon, let's say, then it would have been that way. But actually, no woman had discharged at that point. They, let's say, discharged on Thursday and went to make ready Thursday night, and they already had Erev Shemesh on Friday night. It never really happened, but it could have been that way, that they could have been Tvuli Yayim. Additionally, we said that if everyone's going to make for Friday night, and any discharge after Friday night is not going to be a problem, so why not just have Kabbalah Satar ready at night time? In the free. Says, no, the pasuk says, Loi Mereish B'Seis Debar Hashem didn't want this to be private affair. He wants the whole world to know about this for all time. And so then why didn't they just title in the morning then? Why would I have to go make for Friday night? Go in the daytime and in the morning. Be fresh in the morning. No, we didn't want that these people are going to Kabbalah Satar, these people are going to the mikveh. Where are you going? I'm going to the mikveh, we're going to Kabbalah, Hashem's waiting. We didn't want that to happen. Then we said, we qualified this whole machlekes we had regarding, is it amount of days or einais, all this machlekes we said was only regarding the woman emitting the seed. But from a man, we had an interesting interpretation of Rabbi Tom. What does it mean from a man? Either it means to say the simple that it was emitted from the man, the seed, or it's actually from the man who got it from somewhere else, and he's emitting that seed. Either way, that's as long as it doesn't dry up. This can be even more than 2, 3 days, 4 days. As long as it's still moist, it can still be mazriya. It's only in the woman's body that it gets heated up to such an extent that makes it that it's not able to fertilize. Then the Gemara wanted to know, okay, so what happens if you have the Jewish man's seed in a non-Jewish woman's uterus? On the one hand, you'll say by Jewish people they're deigi, like we call them charedim, so therefore it's going to heat up. But by Akim not, or say no, maybe Akim they eat shkatzim, and that also heats up their body. Then the Gemara says, okay, but what's with an animal? An animal doesn't have a price there, so maybe it doesn't have that heated up area, either in the comfy of the, but it's actually, it doesn't get conceived, so it's in the outer part, so it's not getting, it's really exposed to the ear, it doesn't have this chamber, so the Gemara says take a look, it's not going to be the halacha with an animal. Then we had a machlek, we ended off with is Shavuos, was Kabbalah Satira, on Vav Sivan or Zayin Sivan. So we said two premises that everyone agrees to. According to everyone, they came to Midbar Sinai on Rosh Chodesh. How do we know this? Zera Shava says Hazeh, by Rosh Chodesh says Hazeh, says over here they came Hazeh, means they came on Rosh Chodesh. Additionally, everyone agrees to the premise that Torah was given on Shabbos. How do we know this? Because the memory is in the essence of the day. Just like when Moshe Rabbeinu was telling the Jewish people, remember Mitzrayim, they're leaving a Mitzrayim, and he told them when they leave Mitzrayim. Here, when he's telling them about remembering Shabbos, he was telling them on Shabbos. So everyone agrees the Torah was given on Shabbos. The machlokes was, when was Rosh Chodesh that year? They came Rosh Chodesh, but what day was Rosh Chodesh? Was Rosh Chodesh on Sunday, or was Rosh Chodesh on Monday? So, according to everyone, the first day they rested. Day 2, they were told, Mamlechas Kohen and Megay Kodesh. Day 3, they were told the mitzvah of Hagbal, which was to make the fences that people don't climb up Mount Sinai when the Torah is being given. And day 4 was Prisha from the Shasei. But depends if that's going to be Sunday or Monday. It's going to end on Shabbos, but that's going to end up being either Vav or Zayin Sivan, depending if you started on Sunday or Monday. It can be either that many days, but it was Shabbos was the day, so that's going to be either Vav or Zayin Sivan. Thank you to any time for hosting us. So we to the Kabbalah Satire this year on Vav and Zayin Sivan.